The forgotten charter that changed England forever, the Charter of the Forest. Imagine a world where vast forests were off-limits, where the mighty trees, the flowing streams, and the very earth belonged not to the people but to the crown. A world where cutting firewood, grazing animals, or even foraging berries in the royal woods could land you in prison. Sounds like a dystopian novel, right? But this was reality in medieval England until one extraordinary document changed the game. You've heard of the Magna Carta, but have you ever heard of its overlooked sibling, the Charter of the Forest? This ancient agreement isn't just about trees and land, it's about rebellion, justice, and the battle for survival. Today we'll unravel the incredible story of how this forgotten charter reshaped medieval England, and why its legacy still whispers through the pages of history. Welcome to Infinitia Verity, the channel where facts meet fascination, and history unfolds like never before. Hit that subscribe button and get ready to explore the Charter of the Forest, a tale of power, people, and a fight for freedom. Before we dive into the charter itself, let's set the scene. By the 12th century, nearly a third of England's landmass was designated as royal forest, not the green spaces we imagine today, but legally protected zones reserved for the monarchy. These lands were off-limits to commoners, and violating the forest laws could result in harsh punishments, fines, imprisonment, or even mutilation. Here's an interesting fact. These forests didn't always mean dense woodlands. They included open fields, moors, and even entire villages that the crown had claimed. If a king liked your village, boom, it was now forest land, and your daily life was suddenly a crime. Another surprising fact, the animals within these forests were considered royal property. Killing a deer wasn't just poaching, it was treason, punishable by death. The forest laws turned common folk into criminals simply for trying to survive. Now, most of us know the Magna Carta of 1215 as the cornerstone of liberty. But did you know it originally included provisions about forests? When King John signed the Magna Carta, it addressed the forest laws, but only briefly. After his death, his son, Henry III, reissued the Magna Carta in 1217 and separated the forest clauses into a new document, the Charter of the Forest. This was a game changer. While the Magna Carta focused on the rights of barons and nobles, the Charter of the Forest was aimed squarely at the common people, restoring their access to the forests for basic survival. Here's an intriguing twist. The Charter of the Forest is considered one of the earliest legal documents to address environmental justice. It wasn't just about land, it was about balancing power between the monarchy and the people, and it did so with surprisingly modern concepts like sustainable resource use and the protection of livelihoods. The Charter of the Forest gave ordinary people rights they hadn't enjoyed in decades. They could graze livestock, collect firewood, and forage for food without fear of persecution. It even allowed villagers to build mills or fish in rivers, activities once forbidden. Here's a little-known fact. The Charter also reduced punishments for breaking forest laws. Instead of brutal penalties like blinding or amputation, offenders were fined, making justice less barbaric and more equitable. Another fascinating detail? The charter didn't just benefit the poor, it also curbed the power of sheriffs and royal officials who had abused the forest laws for personal gain. By limiting their authority, the document created a fairer legal system that echoed through the centuries. Let's talk about the environmental angle. The Charter of the Forest wasn't just a legal document, it was a blueprint for managing natural resources. By allowing controlled access to forests, it ensured that people could survive without overexploiting the land. Here's a surprising fact. Historians consider this one of the first instances of what we might call sustainable development. The Charter acknowledged that people and nature had to coexist, long before concepts like conservation entered our vocabulary. Another intriguing fact? Some scholars argue that the Charter's principles influenced modern environmental laws. Its focus on communal rights over natural resources resonates with today's debates about climate change and ecological justice. The Charter's story is also filled with drama. Kings didn't just hand over these rights willingly. Rebellions and revolts played a huge role. The forest laws were a constant source of tension, fueling uprisings like the Peasants' Revolt of 1381, which demanded even greater access to land and resources. And let's not forget the legends. Ever wonder why Robin Hood is always hiding in Sherwood Forest? That's because he's essentially a folk hero of the forest laws, a symbol of resistance against royal tyranny. The Charter of the Forest might not mention Robin Hood, but its legacy is tied to the stories of outlaws and freedom fighters. Here's a fun fact. Sherwood Forest, made famous by Robin Hood, was one of the largest royal forests, spanning nearly 100,000 acres. Another myth-busting fact: the term forest didn't always mean lush greenery. Some areas were barren heathlands, but they were still fiercely protected by the crown. While the Charter of the Forest is over 800 years old, its influence didn't fade quickly. In fact, it remained in effect for centuries, shaping the legal and cultural landscape of England. Here's an amazing fact. The Charter of the Forest is one of the longest-lasting legal documents in British history. It was only officially repealed in 1971, making it one of the oldest laws to survive into the modern era. Another surprising legacy: the Charter inspired movements like the Digger movement during the English Civil War, which demanded communal land rights. Its principles also influenced thinkers like Thomas Paine, who championed the idea of natural rights. So, why does the Charter of the Forest matter today? In a world grappling with issues like environmental degradation and economic inequality, this medieval document feels surprisingly relevant. Here's a modern connection. The Charter's emphasis on communal rights over resources echoes today's debates about the commons, whether it's the internet, public lands, or even clean air and water. Another thought-provoking angle? The Charter reminds us that laws are not just tools of power, they can be instruments of justice, crafted to serve the many, not just the few. And there you have it, the incredible story of the Charter of the Forest, a forgotten cornerstone of justice and environmental stewardship. If you found this journey into medieval England fascinating, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow history buffs, and subscribe to Infinitia Verity for more tales that uncover the hidden treasures of our past. Let us know in the comments, what do you think is the most underrated historical document? Until next time, keep exploring, questioning, and discovering the infinite truths of history.